嚟到法國巴黎，我哋見識過宏偉嘅歷史建築、優雅嘅法式時裝、精緻嘅古董首飾、頂級嘅米芝蓮美食，同埋經典又誘人嘅香水。但係巴黎嘅魅力又點止咁少啊！繼續穿梭大街小巷，融入當地嘅生活步伐，一齊感受浪漫嘅巴黎。首先，我哋用味蕾去感受巴黎其中一種極致品嚐令人幸福感滿滿嘅法式甜品，同時了解背後嘅淵源故事。
我身處嘅呢一間 Le Patisserie Stocker 咧，好有歷史價值同埋意味嘅。呢個店鋪喺1730年咧已經係開始經營㗎啦。個店主就係甜品師 Stocker， 差唔多成3個世紀係冇搬過嘅，地下嗰啲石磚等等咧都係維持原狀嘅。咁點解會喺呢度佢開咗呢間鋪頭嘅咧？咁佢本來咧就係波蘭國王嘅糕點師嚟嘅，但係喺1725年，波蘭嘅公主就嫁咗過嚟咧俾路易15，咁嘅甜品師就隨住佢嚟。5年之後咧，佢自己開咗呢個店鋪，呢度好多嘅甜品都係好特色啦。
Well, Storer is the oldest pastry store in Paris, and Storer is really known for all the traditional pastries. So the most iconic pastries are éclair au chocolat, chocolate éclair, the baba au rhum, rum baba, which is an invention of Nicolas Storer, and of course the Saint-Honoré, which is a puffy pastry with caramel and chantilly.
咁啊，首先咧，我想試呢個好經典嘅就叫做 baba au rhum， 就係麵包加冧酒。整落去咧，已經啲冧酒冧出嚟啊！個甜度適中，個冧酒又唔會太濃。主要原因咧就係波蘭國王啊覺得個麵包太乾，咁於是咧Stocker 就係發明咗呢個糕點，將呢個麵包咧浸喺甜酒，咁到後來改良咗啦，就浸咗落rum酒。另外呢個咧就係我哋香港人好熟悉嘅一個名啦。叫做聖安娜蛋糕，佢係有好多細嘅 cream puff 喺側邊組成啦。而Stocker 嘅聖安娜蛋糕有個特點啦，就係佢用嘅呢一個奶油咧係雲尼拿奶油，亦啲人叫做香草奶油嘅。好香啊！我平時咧就好中意食甜品嘅。我係個習慣咧係，我覺得未食過甜品咧，我好似未食過嗰餐飯咁嘅，即係總要有少少甜嘅嘢到個口先覺得 my meal is completed， 我食咗呢餐飯啦。咁而甜品的確係令人哋開心啲嘅。有人話：喂，你個人做人咧好正面、好樂觀啊！我諗其中一個秘訣咧就係我中意食甜品咯。其實食少少冇乜相干嘅，又唔需要太計較嗰啲卡路里嘅。人生不如意嘅事，有人話係10常8九，何不嘗一口甜品，令自己嘅生活更多甜美嘅回憶咧？
甜品可以安撫我嘅心靈，而佢為咗實踐自己嘅心願，幫其他人克服心理關口。身為香港註冊中醫師嘅佢，決定遠赴巴黎修讀心理學，獲得法國臨床心理治療師資格，將傳統中醫結合現代心理學，提供全方位嘅身心靈服務。
Gillian 啊，你嚟咗法國有幾耐啊？
我嚟咗法國大概10年到啦。
哇，咁耐嘅嗱！
係
你喺香港嘅時候喺 Hong Kong U 係讀中醫嘅，
係冇錯。我當初係喺 Con U 度讀中醫嘅本科，然之後畢業嘅時候就再讀埋佢嘅針灸嘅 master。
點解會選中醫咧？
我好細個嘅時候，我屋企人已經帶我去睇中醫嘅啦。
你畢業之後喺香港做咗幾耐中醫師啊？
我喺香港做咗大概3、4年度啦，喺醫院入面把心一橫，突然之間就不如試下去外國睇下外面嘅世界啦咁樣。
咁你喺邊個醫院度服務咧？
我之前係喺將軍澳醫院嘅一間康復中心嗰度做嘢嘅。
你喺香港做得好好地，你又覺得係做到自己想做嘅，點解你啱啱提過把心一橫要去咗外國，同埋點解要揀法國咧？
因為喺做緊嘢嘅時候，我同其中一個同事，亦都係我大學嘅時候嘅一個同學啦。我哋就一齊諗住揾啲嘢學下，最後我哋就決定咗去學法文。
哦，
係啦，最後學完法文之後，我哋就諗住不如就試下去闖下啦，去見識一下呢個世界。咁就最後就決定過嚟法國 working holiday。
當初嚟到法國 Kilian 發現自己嘅法文程度不足，完成 working holiday 之後，曾經返香港工作，但係佢內心依然心繫法國，所以佢決定再次出發到巴黎留學。由認真苦讀法文到攻讀心理學學士同碩士，今日佢已經成功入籍喺巴黎落地生根。
有啲乜嘢因素令你覺得你想申請喺度留低入籍呢？
我諗係習慣，已經好習慣呢面嘅生活嘅模式啦，已經係入咗去我嘅個人入面啦。
一啲嘢唔慣都冇？
有，
有咩最唔慣啊？
咁香港係一個好有效率嘅地方，係啦，咁所以行政啊，所有嘅交通全部都好有效率。但係過到嚟嘅時候係將所有我對正常嘅概念顛覆咗，原來好多嘢都係即係可以拖好耐。最主要都係行政嘅問題最唔慣咯。
你嚟到呢度，你係讀 clinical psychology 係咪啊？臨床心理學，你係用法文學嘅喎，係咪啊？係
啊，算係可以應付工作啦，係啦。我都唔夠膽講我有一個好似土生土長嘅人咁流利嘅法文嘅能力，不過工作上面都冇乜即係大嘅問題。
咁你而家喺呢度係做緊啲乜嘢㗎？
我而家喺呢一度有分開兩邊嘅工作嘅唔同嘅時間，一邊係喺呢個診所入面做中醫同埋臨床心理學嘅診症嘅工作，另外一邊係喺一個非牟利嘅機構嗰度做一啲關於成癮問題嘅心理治療嘅。成癮係冇錯。
喂，咁但係用法文嚟同你講心理問題都幾深層次㗎嘛，有時啲表達同感受咧，你會唔會覺得語言嗰度係一個障礙？抑或呢方面你唔係一個問題啊？
一開頭會擔心，其實會唔會我唔係一個土生土長嘅，會溝通上面有困難。但係發現最後其實都冇乜大嘅問題。好多時候我哋溝通可能都未必純粹係語言，有可能係啲表情啊，或者係動作啊，呢啲都有好多唔同嘅信息透露到。呢啲都係臨床工作上面好重要嘅信息。比較返本土嘅人，又甚至係中國人、香港人，佢哋遇見嘅問題有幾多係相同，又或者幾大嘅不同咧？其實兩邊嘅問題都好相似，都係關於現代社會嘅工作壓力啊，或者係啲人際關係嘅問題等等。但係喺中國人或者係華人或者係外地嚟嘅外國人，就會有其中一個特別啲嘅情況，就係一個完全陌生嘅環境，或者兩個唔同嘅文化之間嘅衝突。會令到佢哋產生咗一啲比較難處理嘅心理嘅壓力，咁呢啲就係比較特別啲嘅。咁呢方面，所以佢哋就會嚟揾你咧，因為你都係過來人啊嘛。冇錯，喺法國臨床心理學其實都係要註冊嘅，咁佢哋國家係有一個註冊嘅機制。咁即係你嗰個發牌俾你啦，咁你就會受到監管㗎咯喎，係嘛？咁但係講到中醫師啦，呢度中醫師有冇一個執業嘅資格嘅咧？喺呢面好可惜就係中醫冇一個專業嘅執業嘅資格，咁所以喺呢面工作嘅中醫嘅執業者啦，通常都係用一個輔助嘅角色，或者一啲建議，用俾啲飲食嘅建議，或者係一啲草藥嘅輔助嘅方法等等，所以就唔可以話係一個診斷一個治療咁樣。嚟睇你嗰啲人，譬如法國本地人咧，佢會唔會特登嚟睇你？因為你係一個中醫師㗎。會啊，其實好多時候喺我嘅practice 入面，會有啲人係淨係嚟睇中醫嘅，有啲人係淨係嚟睇 psychology 嘅，但係有好多人其實係兩邊溝埋一齊咁樣去睇。佢哋喺邊度認識中醫師呢一個咁嘅專業嘅咧？呢面嘅法國人其實越嚟越普遍係比較多希望有一個自然啲嘅療法，咁佢哋就會喺網上面揾好多唔同嘅方法去揾中醫師啊、自然療法啊，或者其他替代嘅醫學。即係佢就當中醫咧，就係其中嘅一種自然療法咁嚟試下。嗱，你咧就幫人哋排難解紛啦，特別係有壓力嘅時候。咁你喺度10年期間，有冇試過一啲好沮喪嘅時候，或者壓力好大嘅，自己都覺得好困擾嘅時刻咧？其實有嘅，尤其是係一開頭啱啱嚟到冇幾耐，又或者係準備要畢業，唔知道將來前路嘅狀態。咁嗰個時候，因為仲未開始做嘢，就會加上一個可能 財政嘅壓力啦，係啦，因為嗰時仲係全職讀緊書，係啦，咁所以嗰時嘅壓力就好大。調解自己嘅壓力嘅方法就係多啲可能係做我而家都會做嘅冥想啊，或者係我好中意去行山嘅。以前喺香港，咁而家喺巴黎就比較難啲，咁我就會去揾一啲大啲嘅公園去行下，接觸下大自然咁樣。
係咁，大自然可以俾到你放鬆嘅一刻啦。咁我希望你以後喺度生活都唔再需要面對任何嘅壓力。
多謝。
我都真係幾服阿 Kilian 嘅。嗱，法文咧就唔係佢嘅母語，亦都唔係佢第二語言，係第三語言嚟嘅喎。你可以想像得到，你唔係本土人，唔係本地人，你同法國人佢講嘅母語，同你解釋佢心理狀況，要理解同明白一啲都唔容易。不過可以咁講，即係一理通就百理明嘅。只要你係人，就有煩惱㗎啦。而嗰啲煩惱通常係點嚟㗎？自尋咯。
嚟到法國幾日，終於有機會品嚐當地嘅葡萄酒啦。作為釀酒王國，法國憑住悠久嘅歷史、獨特嘅風土同嚴格嘅釀酒工藝，備受世界推崇。今日我特別請咗一位朋友，以輕鬆互動嘅方式，深入淺出咁介紹法國葡萄酒同芝士嘅配搭。
This is a tasting room. It's really specialized in tastings. And the idea is for foreigners, when they're visiting France, for them to really discover how French wine works, how different it is from their country, to pair it together with the cheeses. They come for 2 hours.
Okay.
They taste 6 wines, 6 cheeses. Depends on the season. Sometimes it's rosé, some wine. Yeah, after 2 hours, you see Paris in a very different way, believe me.
Yeah.
It's,
this year. Okay.
Shall I start with the champagne?
Yes, please.
Shall we?
Okay.
So it's really the first thing to do is to look inside to be sure that the wine is clean, to check at the color, intensity of the wine. This has some green reflection. That means the wine is quite young in that age. We see the carbonation is actually very subtle, very small bubbles you have here, which is a good sign already. Then you can start with the first nose. You smell it. Don't hesitate to swirl 1 or 2. I pour you maybe too much for the swirling. It's not easy. To really develop the full flavor profile. And then, shall we try?
Okay, you show me how to
Yes,
do it.
absolutely. So you drink a bit.
Just a little bit. Oh.
And then you drink it. It's pretty good, actually. The beginning was pretty good in the bluffing, yeah.
Okay.
And you
And what kind of cheese should go with?
So this, you should go with this one, I would recommend. It's called Chaours. It's actually near the Champagne region. It's Champagne, Burgundy region. And the idea, as you see, it's very creamy. It's going to leave a layer of creaminess on your palate. And when you try the champagne after that,
It's different.
it's going to be very different. It's going to make it overall, it's going to cut through the acidity of your champagne. It's going to make it easier to handle.
So I should have another sip.
Yeah, please, of course. Yeah.
我食咗呢個之後，再飲呢個酒嘅味咧，好似嘅佢融為一體啊！係嗰種味好夾咧。咁我又今日學識咗新嘢幾好，唔錯，飲杯。
All right, so the next one I've chosen for you, it's a wine from Bordeaux. It's called Haut-Médoc. It's a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, and Petit Verdot. I put it in that small decanter here so the wine can breathe a little bit.
So what should we do with it?
All right, so same thing as the previous one. So it's good to look at the intensity. For red wine, you can look like this. But you can also look inside if you can see your fingers there. There is some intensity, you barely see through, so that means usually the wine is going to be on the heavier side of the wines. And then same thing, you swirl it as well, you smell.
No.
All right, let's try it. So this has a bit more body, a bit more complexity. It's but still you have the finesse. In French wine, we say a good sign. When you drink it, it's not a wine that it overpowers your palate. When you drink it and you put it back down, you want to go back again. So that's a good sign that it's a wine that is very digestible and easy to drink.
Just like when I see you, I want to see you again.
Yeah.
Because you are a very good person.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And me too, thank you.
Which kind of cheese?
I advise you to have it with this one there. Have it with a Comté. So the wine now is quite complex. You get some tannins. So I chose a very complex cheese. So this is a Comté with 24 months of maturation. But it's very complex. Same as the wine. You want the balance between the wine and the cheese to balance out.
Oh, it's all different.
So good.
It
right?
matches so well.
Yeah.
嗰個酒本身咧都好有層次啦，但係呢一個芝士咧，佢係有一個好濃厚嘅嗰種 nutty 嘅感覺，食咗落去之後，再溝翻個酒咧，係啱係原來水乳交融。
Santé, exactly. All right.
有人喜歡寫意享受人生，但亦都有人中意挑戰自己，搏盡無悔。原本喺香港會計師事務所工作嘅佢，緣分遇上法籍丈夫，仲生埋個女添。隨後一家移居法國，為原創業夢想，以一人之力經營小餐館，努力平衡家庭同事業。
Eve 呢個係咪 set 嚟㗎？
係啊，呢個係 set 嚟㗎。但係咧本身，因為我每日咧都有轉 menu 嘅，咁每日咧一個前菜啦，一個主菜啦，同埋一個甜品咁樣咯。咁今日個 set 咧本身個前菜就係春卷，個主菜係香麻雞撈檬，個甜品就係呢個冧酒提子乾蛋糕。不過咧，你講到冇雞咧，係因為我今日已經買晒啦，咁所以咧就整咗個春卷撈檬俾你。
好好食喎！呢啲係全部你一手一腳自己整㗎咯喎，你冇伙計幫手㗎？
冇啊，自己一個人嘅，係啊。
你過咗嚟法國巴黎幾耐啊
2020年嚟，差唔多6年幾。
點解會過嚟嘅無情情？
哦，因為我先生係法國人嚟嘅，係啦，佢係廚師嚟嘅。咁佢嘅餐廳喺香港就唔續約，即係同酒店唔續約。咁佢老闆就問佢：咁不如你翻嚟幫我手啦。咁於是2020年就即係搬過嚟咯。
幾時同你結婚㗎
？2018年。
點解2年之後嘅？就因為2年之後嗰2年都仲有約，所以繼續喺香港。
係啦。
你做緊乜嘢嗰陣香港？
我做緊咩？我做緊 Big Four 嘅嗰陣時。
哦，你係做會計工作，喺會計樓、會計師樓嗰度工作。
係啊。
哇！咁你過嚟咁咪好大犧牲。
我老闆好好嗰陣時，佢俾我 keep 住份工。
哦。係
啦，咁我就喺度work from 呢度幫我老闆香港做嘢咁樣咯。
就唔需要喺離開屋企。你係咪有個小朋友㗎嘛？
有個小朋友係啊，佢就係出世，佢2020年出世。
哦，會唔會係因為又考慮埋個小朋友，所以都係翻嚟法國啦？
都有嘅，係都諗住佢點都會即係都離開嘅，等佢大個啲啲。不過冇諗過嗰陣時都幾倉促嘅，其實嗰個
決定
係啊。我自己細個一直其實都想做廚師嘅，但係最終冇做到啦。雖然我唔覺得自己梗係廚師啊，但係 anyway，咁我就覺得咁不如既然我想煮嘢食，咁不如就試下咯。
咁啊，阿 Jackie 咧支唔支持你搞呢壇嘢，或者你開出有呢個意念嘅時候，佢會唔會諗？喂，唔係喎，你諗下第啲嘢好啲喎咁。
佢好支持嘅，佢支持得過籠有時，我會同佢講：你唔好咁樂觀啦，你唔好覺得我一定做到啦。但係我諗呢個係我哋兩個之間嘅關係就係咁，佢比較正面啲，我就係比較會諗多啲啊。佢身體力行都好支持。
身體力行好支持嘅意思即係
佢譬如落場嘅話，佢就會過嚟幫我手一齊清潔啊嘛。即係如果佢唔使湊女之前。
你開幾耐一個鋪頭
？11點半到3點半，因為收3點半係因為咧我要湊女，因為我先生佢放 break 落場咧，佢就去接佢放學，咁但係佢要翻去夜晚，佢仲要做夜晚嗰段 service，咁所以佢5點半要走㗎啦，咁所以我3點半收，我就要開始清潔啊、執嘢啊、prep 聽日啲嘢，咁我5點鐘 sharp 我一定要喺度走，翻去就我老公就翻工，咁我就湊女咯。但係湊女會唔會係你一個即係幾需要適應嘅嘢咧？因為你呢度都請唔到工人去幫手啦。係，開頭好難㗎，因為啱啱我過嚟嘅時候，佢6個月啫嘛。咁同埋嗰陣時係 Covid 啊嘛，所以喺香港已經係好即係冇乜見人啊。個頭嗰6個月，因為疫情嘅關係，咁過到嚟跟住。係難適應，因為自己一個湊佢，咁我老公要翻工。係啊。嗰陣時有冇抌心啊？哎呀，早知我唔嚟啦！我喺香港係有人湊。間唔中都一定會浮呢啲諗法出嚟嘅。係啊。咁點樣咧？有冇同個老公上下咧？你翻去香港做啦。其實曾經有機會，有2個機會公司想即係俾個機會叫我翻去幫手嘅。咁但係我哋有傾過諗過，最終都冇翻到去。最主要原因係咩咧？我諗係個女咯， 雖然佢冇喺香港長大過，我冇得比較嘅。咁但係我見佢依家佢好開心。
嗱 Eva 你一個人開你個鋪頭，頻頻撲撲咁辛苦，又要趕翻嚟湊女啊咁，有冇覺得有啲後悔咧？早知唔做呢行啦，做第啲咧？
好坦白咁同你講咧，係喺好崩潰嘅時候係有嘅。咁但係嗰個好短咯，因為其實我唔知我係咪有啲自虐狂啦，即係你見我咁樣一個人都仲要每日都轉 menu，但係我覺得雖然係痛，某段時間會痛苦啦，但係我覺得喺心底裏面其實我係有啲
成就感，
又唔係成就感嘅，但係覺得哎呀我做到喎！2個月之前我唔會覺得自己做到。
係飲杯啦，生活嘅細節其實一啲都唔簡單嘅，你可以想像下 Eva 咧係佢屋企嘅獨生女，佢同佢法國嘅丈夫香港結婚之後，個女出世2個月咧就離開香港嚟到法國生活，完全要靠自己啊，冇家庭傭工可以幫手。個女6歲啦，佢開始亦都要投入工作，開咗一間小店，整菜俾人哋食難唔到佢，但係清潔咧佢就覺得非常之辛苦，加上佢好執着。要做得一切嘢都係乾乾淨淨、整整齊齊，佢都冇諗過自己能夠做得到。呢個帶俾佢一啲成就感。你有冇諗過啲嘢其實你都可能做得到，但係你以為你自己做唔到嘅咧？有冇勇氣去挑戰下？